A warm welcome to the Thursday edition of the Our City COVID-19 show, giving you the latest updates from home and abroad. I am Michaela Miller. These are your headlines. The National Health Laboratory Service is prioritizing COVID-19 testing in the Western Cape due to the province's high rate of infection. The South African Health Products Regulatory Authority has given to go ahead for repurposing the tuberculosis drug BCG, and the lifting of the alcohol ban has seen an increase in the number of trauma cases. It is day 77 of the lockdown. South Africa has reported 55,421 confirmed COVID-19 cases. There have been 31,505 recoveries and 100,210 deaths. The Western Cape has 36,021 cases, 22,862 recoveries and 927 deaths. National Health Laboratory Service has briefed Parliament's Portfolio Committee on Health about its new strategy to deal with the COVID-19 testing backlogs due to a global shortage of testing kits. The NHLS said it would have to prioritise the Western Cape due to the province's high rate of infection.
The National Health Laboratory Service briefed Parliament yesterday on its new strategic plan to deal with the COVID-19 testing backlogs, in which it will prioritise the Western Cape due to the province's high rates of infections.
Prioritise the Western Cape because of its high positivity rate, and we know that what happens in the Western Cape now is going to impact on the other provinces. So as a result, we have been giving them extra kits in order to reduce the backlog. That's the high throughput kits, but we still have been making sure that we cover all the other provinces. So Western Cape, we've reduced the backlog from about 18,000 and 15,000 at the end of May, and you can see we've radically reduced the backlog to where it stands today.
The service's CEO, Dr. Kareem Chetty, said the testing strategy that's being implemented is to prioritise in-hospital patients.
So what we've done is we've got testing priorities where we prioritise testing for those with the medical need and for clinical diagnosis, then testing for high-risk individuals, testing of critical frontline workers. The surveillance hasn't come in yet. I'll talk a little bit about it towards the end, and then screening and targeted hotspots. So Chair, just to say that with those categories, we've color-coded it and we've improved on the workflow. So we've been trying to make sure that we prioritize the in-hospital patients. This is an example from Western Cape. We've looked at the turnaround times for the hospitals in the Western Cape for the inpatients, and we know that that the results get given within 24 hours. So this is the average. In some instances, it's a lot less. And you can see that our turnaround time for the in-hospital patients. So the point that I want to make here is that our backlog is mainly in community screening. The hospital patients who are at risk and who need a clinical diagnosis, we make sure that they prioritize, so the backlog does not impact on them.
The Western Cape Health Department said prioritising high-risk individuals had helped reduce the number of backlog tests. I am Octavian Lovo, reporting for Our City News, Cape Town.
The South African Health Products Regulatory Authority has given the go-ahead for repurposing of the tuberculosis drug BCG to assess whether it could be used to fight COVID-19 as well. The trial is taking place at a hospital in Cape Town. We spoke to Tebogo Sehloho, a senior manager at the SAPRA, about the feasibility of the study.
We're in the middle of approving some protocols on vaccines, and one vaccine has been repurposed. It's a TB vaccine, the BCG vaccine, has been repurposed to explore whether it would have any effects on the prevention of COVID. And the study is currently being conducted in Cape Town. A clinical trial is a research study that is conducted on humans in order to solve problems of diseases. For instance, if there is a disease that needs a therapy, and there's some information that it is tolerable from previous animal studies, and that it is safe in a small number of patients as we progress towards larger studies for patients or for the intended population. So in a way it's a study that studies the effects of medicines in humans to ameliorate or prevent disease. So repurposing means you take an existing vaccine that has known indications. Now, indications are what it is registered to work for. Now, when you repurpose it, you direct it towards a new disease because there's some information, some evidence that it might work. Now, obviously, that information would have to convince you enough to tell you that, look, a theory can be formulated around this to say this might work. How scientific research works is that you develop a theory that says this thing might work, and then you need to test that theory. That's what we call hypothesis testing. You are going to compare that suspect therapy against no therapy and see what the outcomes are. Now, if the outcomes are better for this new therapy, then you know you have something to work with. But if there's no difference, then you have what we call non-efficacy, and your theory cannot be. And before we get to the inclusion and exclusion criteria, we'll have to speak to the Helsinki Declaration, which guarantees patient rights in terms of how they can be treated and handled within a clinical trial. Now, in terms of rights, obviously they have a right to no harm. They have a right to minimum standards of treatment, and they have a right to provide informed consent to participate in the trial. So those are the basic rights that the patients would have with context of clinical trial. It's quite a broad subject. Like I said, it involves inclusion and exclusion criteria. And obviously, your inclusion and exclusion criteria depends on your research question. Okay. If it's a preventative trial, then obviously you want subjects that do not have the disease, so that you can prove the theory that this drug prevents disease. Mm-hmm. Now, if it's a therapeutic trial, you want sick patients that will provide you with an opportunity to prove that this drug cures disease. So it's quite a broad concept that is reliant on your original research questions in terms of who you exclude and who you include. So in a preventative trial, you would exclude sick patients because you want to prove that this drug prevents disease, and the other way around for therapeutic trials. Reports from Europe and America point to a possibility that by the end of the year, certainly by the beginning of the coming year, something should be ready. Because trials are ongoing, and the testing is quite advanced in a smaller group of individuals to test tolerability, and I suppose there's an overlap in a smaller number of patients to test safety and efficacy as well. So we are nearing that, as far as reports are coming from overseas. But I cannot give you a definite time frame. Yes.
Transport Minister Fikile Mbalula is meeting with various taxi associations in an effort to find a solution to proposed taxi fare increases. Taxi bodies across the 9 provinces were set to receive relief funds since the start of the national lockdown, but this is yet to be rolled out. It's prompted a decision to increase tariffs to make money lost. Western Cape Santaco chairperson Nazim Abdurrahman said the organisation was set to meet over the issue. We will keep you updated on this developing story. Since the lifting of the alcohol ban in Level 3, the Western Cape has seen an increase in the number of related trauma cases. Premier Alan Winde said if citizens consuming alcohol were not responsible, beds would be taken away from those who needed it during this difficult time.
This is Alan Winde, Premier of the Western Cape. Since the unbanning of the sale of alcohol, when we moved to level lockdown 3 as of the 1st of June, we have definitely noticed an upswing in trauma cases in our hospitals that are alcohol related or alcohol abuse related. And I want to say very strongly that this is unacceptable. We need to make sure that going through the COVID-19 pandemic as a province, we have to do this as government and civil society working together. Every citizen has a responsibility and must take that responsibility very seriously. We cannot allow all of the work that we've been doing over the last few months, the millions and millions of rands worth of health infrastructure that's been put in place so that we can allow our health system to cope when we go through the peak of this virus in the next few weeks, to be blocked up by irresponsible behavior around alcohol abuse. And so my plea is to every citizen in this province, if you are consuming alcohol, you need to make sure you do this responsibly. You cannot, and it's absolutely unacceptable that irresponsible alcohol behavior ends up by taking beds away from people who really would need it in any of our trauma units because of a COVID-19 virus or some other necessity in our ICU or hospitals, and irresponsible alcohol use ends up taking that bed away from that person. And we obviously will be monitoring this closely, and we'll have to apply our minds as to what the consequences are and what we need to do as a government if we cannot see any change in this arena.
We spoke to citizens of the Western Cape and asked them how they felt about the lifting on the sales of the liquor ban.
President Cyril Ramaphosa announced that South Africans will move to level 3 of the nationwide lockdown. This saw the lifting of the liquor ban. On the 1st of June, sadly, we saw myriads of people standing at liquor outlets, some of those not adhering to the regulations, and that being of social distancing. Hospital cases, specifically that of trauma units, have increased significantly. Drunk driving cases are also on the rise. People should drink responsibly as well as at home.
At first I thought it was a good idea to lift the ban on cigarettes and alcohol, but if this is going to be the case where people are overdoing it as they usually do and not drinking in moderation, and obviously people are missing the smokes as well, but now it's actually just making things worse for our medical services, and I mean the medical staff is already struggling under the circumstances dealing with the amount of COVID-19 cases.
I was kind of actually but I was relieved that the ban was going to be lifted so that I could have a taste of my favorite drink again, which I won't mention the name of. Granted, the collective issue around the lift of the alcohol ban, I was not entirely for it, to be honest. I won't generalize and say South Africans, but I'll say some South Africans do not know how to drink. They don't know when to stop, and they honestly don't know how to behave when there's too much alcohol in the system. COVID-19 cases were increasing, and I mean lifting that ban, was that gonna make things better for our country basically? Because all I was thinking about, If people are going to be drunk and they want to go shopping or they want to go get more alcohol, are they actually going to abide to like the rules with wearing masks, sanitizing, taking precautions and stuff like that? So I was already tripping on all of those things, because now even those that don't drink are even more at risk basically. I mean, it literally looked like people were thinking that level 3 was level 1. The next day, there were so many articles that came out how ICU and trauma units were filled because of alcohol-related incidents. And I was really thinking, like, is this necessary right now? I mean, our country has literally been preparing hospitals and medical personnel for the worst that might come from COVID-19, and it's like people forgot that it even existed now. If they literally put a ban on alcohol again tomorrow, I won't even fight against that. I just want to send a shout out also to everyone doing the most in the hospitals right now. You guys are doing an amazing job. Recovery rates looks awesome, and yeah, there are people out here in South Africa that really care about what you are doing and will try our utmost best not to make things worse.
The following video is brought to you by MEC Albert Fritz. His spokesperson Kayla Murray reacted to the sale of alcohol and the increase of incident it has brought about. This is what she had to say.
The Minister of Community Safety, Albert Fritz, has welcomed the 65 investigations conducted by the Liquor Authority, noting that 32 licenses have been suspended between 23 March and 5 June 2020. Minister Fritz said, as of Monday the 1st of June, the sale of liquor was again permitted. It was stated that licensed premises may sell liquor from Monday to Thursday, excluding Fridays to Sundays and public holidays. Liquor may only be sold between 9 a.m. and 5 p.m. and may not be consumed on premises. Minister Fritz added, the Western Cape has seen an increase in the number of alcohol-related trauma cases since the unbanning of alcohol. This is extremely concerning as the healthcare system is already under pressure as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic. Minister Fritz continued, I want to be clear. The abuse of alcohol takes beds away from people who need it during this difficult time. This could be a family member or a loved one who needs this bed. That is why every single one of us has a role to play to make a difference. So please, please drink responsibly. If this doesn't happen, we will have to explore alternative measures to ensure compliance. Minister Fritz added, through the Western Cape Liquor Authority, my department will continue to enforce the relevant regulations with a particular focus on taverns. We know that in our most vulnerable communities, taverns, particularly those which operate unlicensed, play a significant role in perpetuating alcohol-related harms. Minister Fritz continued, the Western Cape Liquor Authority will continue to work closely with SAPS to report unlicensed premises and ensure that necessary action is taken against them, which includes paying an admission of guilt fine or removing their stock. With regards to licensed premises, the Western Cape Liquor Authority will continue to conduct its investigations into licensed premises which do not comply with the regulations and may issue a fine of up to 115,000 Rand or revoke the license of those who fail to comply, subject to an investigation. Since the 1st of June 2020, inspectors were widely deployed to monitor premises in areas of non-compliance, most prevalent, and non-compliance where non-compliance is most likely to occur. Minister Fritz said, licensed outlets have generally been very compliant and some licensees undertook to close their businesses where there was overcrowding. In Nyanga, a licensee painted white spots on the pavement outside the premises where customers were required to queue to maintain social distancing. Many outlets complied with the prescribed health protocols in terms of the use of thermometers and hand sanitizers. Minister Fritz added, 3 premises were found to be trading contrary to suspension orders and were issued during the Alert Level 4 period. Further charges against them will be brought before the Liquor Licensing Tribunal to consider the possible revocation of such licenses. It was anticipated that licensed outlets would use the opportunity to stock up on liquor, and licensed premises were monitored in terms of the volume sold during single transactions. One premises was found selling 48 crates of beer, which is the equivalent of 324 litres, to an individual who allegedly owns an unlicensed outlet. 2 similar cases are in the process of being referred to the Liquor Licensing Tribunal for consideration. Minister Fritz says, I urge members of the public who are aware of the illegal sale of alcohol to immediately come forward and report such to SAPS. Any persons wanting to lodge a complaint or report a contravention of the regulations can contact the Western Cape Liquor Authority on 021 204 9805.
Judgment in the Fair Trade Independent Tobacco Association's case against the government's ban on tobacco products was reserved on Wednesday. Tobacco companies want the sale of cigarettes to resume, but the government has asked the High Court in Pretoria to give it time to reflect on its regulations relating to the ban of tobacco products should its decision be found to be flawed. The cigarette ban was implemented at the start of the national lockdown as advised by the National Coronavirus Command Council in an effort to eliminate health risk. The city of Cape Town has removed 2 large marquees put up by an observatory resident to house homeless people ahead of the cold front which made landfall on Wednesday. Ground Up News reported that the 2 6x9 marquees were erected by a resident, Turner Gaius, and a few volunteers on Tuesday afternoon of the village green. The space belongs to the city and Gaius did not have a permit to erect shelter there. The city's law enforcement officers arrived soon after to tear the tents down. This was later confirmed by Wayne Dyson, spokesperson for the city's law enforcement department. Gaius is a member of the OBS COVID Action Network. He said the decision to set up the marquees was his own and not that of the CAN. We will continue giving you the latest news from the city, province and around the world. When we return, we will cross over to our reporter Zanele Mvana, who will give us an update on the informal settlements that have been affected by the heavy rainfall and more. Stay with us. Welcome back. You're still tuned into Channel 263 on DSTV and the Thursday edition of the Our City COVID-19 show on Cape Town TV. Heavy rainfall has fallen in many areas of the mother city and the rest of the province. While it has been welcomed in the province that has suffered a long drought, the storms have affected many informal settlements. The South African Weather Service said the cold front was due to last the entire week. We cross live to our reporter Zanele Mvana, who will tell us about the weather and the areas it has affected.
A good day to you, Michaela. It is very cold this afternoon here in the Western Cape, with the weather being 10 degrees Celsius. Now you can imagine how cold it is to be here outside. The South African Weather Services has issued a media statement stating that South Africans should expect a chilly and very cold front starting from Wednesday, 10th of June, and many areas have been affected by this cold front, including Polar Park Informal Settlement and Zwezwe in Khayelitsha. We spoke to the Disaster Risk Management, and this is what they had to say.
Informal settlements affected due to heavy rainfall overnight were Overcome Heights, Polar Park, Goliath Estate, Langa, Masipumalele, Khayelitsha and Philippi. No emergency sheltering was activated. Many trees were uprooted across the city in the following areas: Durbanville, Ravensmead, Atlantis, Eversdale and Somerset West. These are being attended to by the Recreation and Parks Department. Power outages were also experienced in Philippi, Pelican Heights, Samora Michel, Strand and Nyanga. The Electricity Department will be attending to all reports. Various roads across the city have been flooded, and these are being attended to by the Roads and Stormwater Department.
That was our reporter Zanele Mvana reporting on the ground during the storm. The man accused of murdering 25-year-old Naledi Mpagindau appeared briefly in the Mossel Bay Magistrates Court on Wednesday. Mlondi Ntlangule, believed to be the victim's ex-boyfriend, handed himself over to the police in Lundlwale Strand on Sunday night and was transferred to Mossel Bay to face a charge of murder. National Prosecuting Authority spokesperson Eric Ntabazalila confirmed the case was rolled to Thursday for a lawyer to be appointed. Pangindawo was stabbed to death while attending a cultural function at a residence in Kwanongapa in Mossel Bay on Saturday. The ANC's Women's League organized a picket outside the court. Finance and Economic Opportunities MEC David Mayner and the City of Cape Town's MACO member for Economic Opportunities and Asset Management, Alderman James Voss, have visited Cape Town International Airport to assess the steps taken by management and now that it has reopened. They wanted to ensure the safety of those working there, as well as the business professionals travelling on the flights that resumed this week. University of the Western Cape students have made clear their grievances against the institution's management, complaining that exams are about to begin, but they have not received data or electronic devices yet. Management has responded, saying a date of 1,216 students have been provided with laptops for their own account. 10,853 students have received 10 gigs daytime and 20 gigs nighttime data per month. Unsuccessful data activations are being dealt with. A task team has been established to identify the most vulnerable students who will be contacted by the university within the next month. These students will be phased in according to Level 3 government protocol for the return to campus. The university has revised its academic calendar to ensure that students who cannot engage in Term 2 and present mid-year examinations do not in the December-January 2021 catch-up period. There is no obligation for such students to write examinations in this upcoming sessions. Victimizations of journalists has again been highlighted after independent media journalist Sihle Mbavuzo had to appear in court. He was criminally charged for doing his job. Mavuso was assaulted and apprehended while covering the protests against the former Itenkweni executive mayor Zandile Gumede in July 2019. Right to Know said it was concerned about the culture of impunity embedded in South Africa's security forces. The organization has encouraged defenders of freedom of expression, truth and human rights to draw attention to these court proceedings and to demand justice for Sihle. Burundi citizens are mourning the death of President Nkosazana. Mourners have stopped by the presidential place to sign the condolences books. Citizens have been left reeling after the sudden death of the president. The following video is brought to us by Voice of America.
Burundi's government has declared a week of mourning following President Pierre Nkurunziza's sudden death. At the presidential palace, where the Burundian flag flies at half-mast, mourners stopped to sign the condolences book. Some residents say they are shocked.
I was shocked. Up until now, I don't understand it at all. It's incomprehensible.
After receiving the bad news of the death of our president, I feel bitterness and have had a sleepless night.
This comes weeks before President-elect and ruling party candidate Everest Ndayishimiye was expected to be sworn in after winning the May election, replacing Nkurunziza, who many viewed as someone who ruled with an iron fist the past 15 years.
It has shocked me because he has died without passing the baton to the new president, Evariste. This is not normal to me. It's an unexpected death.
A government statement says Nkurunziza died of a heart attack, but some in Burundi wonder if that official statement is true. Nkurunziza's wife is recovering from COVID-19 after recently being airlifted to a hospital in Nairobi, but her illness triggered rumors that the president had caught the disease as well. Burundi's government has downplayed the COVID-19 virus and held the election and large campaign rallies despite the COVID-19 threat. Authorities also kicked out World Health Organization officials without an explanation just days before the elections after the WHO raised concerns about crowded rallies. For Mariama Diallo, this is Mary Mata for VOA News in Washington.
George Floyd's brother has delivered an emotional plea for Congress to act to stop police violence against minorities. This formally launched a congressional effort to revamp laws after his brother's death at the hands of Minneapolis police sparked protests across the country. He told the panel he was tired of the pain you feel when you watch something like that, when you watch your big brother who looked up to you whole life die begging for his mom. He added that it was time to stop the pain. When it was not his turn to speak during the nearly 6-hour hearing, Floyd wore a mask, part of the coronavirus safety response. Hundreds of students in the UK gathered on Tuesday to protest in front of Oxford's University Oriel College for the removal of Cecil John Rhodes' statue. The demands came amid a wave on anti-racism protests following the death of George Floyd in America last month at the hands of police. We take a look at a footage that takes place. Students in the UK have called for the statue of Cecil John Rhodes to be removed. Rhodes Must Fall describes collective movement of students and staff members mobilizing for direct action against the reality of institutional racism. Cecil John Rhodes was a businessman and politician who was responsible for the expansion of the British Empire in Southern Africa. He believed whites were superior race and has been labeled an architect of apartheid. Hashtag Rhodes Must Fall was a protest movement that began in 2015, originally directed against a statue at the University of Cape Town that commemorates Cecil John Rhodes. A campaign to remove the statue of Rhodes in 2016 in the UK was unsuccessful, but thousands have now signed a petition calling for it to be removed. The latest demonstration was held at the same time as the funeral of George Floyd in Houston, Texas. Many took the knee and fell silent for 8 minutes and 46 seconds to honor Floyd. A few of their demands included the official, public, and permanent acknowledgement of the imperial and racist origins, the immediate changing of the name, the removal of monument that critically celebrates Cecil John Rhodes, and to introduce the permanent addition of 10 more African scholarships by the academic year of 2021. The student campaigners say it is wrong to honor a man who made his first fortune from the exploitation of African miners and paved the way to apartheid with his beliefs and measures on racist segregation. We also received comment from Rhodes Must Fall UCT activists, and this is what he said.
My name is Tumani Makwele. I'm the national organizer of Rhodes Must Fall in South Africa. We would like to really pass our message of support to the student of Oxford University. We would like to state it very clear, without any fear or favor, that we support the actions and the activism of student activists in Oxford University. We really want to express our strong support and say, yes, indeed, Rhodes must fall. And we are encouraged by your own encouragement, and we are encouraged by your own actions to mobilize the community of the world and to really raise sharp issues with the way in which the systematic racism and epistemic racism that is taking place in our institutions must come to an end.
That's all from the news front, but when we come back, Stephanie Pitt will give us an update on what's trending on social media.
Welcome back. You're still watching the Our City COVID-19 show. I'm Stephanie Pitt. World Health Organization Director Dr. Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus has confirmed the African continent would not be used as a testing ground alone. Addressing the media at the WHO Daily Briefing, the Director General said there were various studies being conducted globally, and once the COVID-19 vaccine was developed, all countries would undertake the same testing protocols.
My African compatriots, actually, they shouldn't worry about being, a testing ground. We have started solidarity trial on therapeutics, as you know, and we have more than 37 countries now involved throughout the world in the trial. And some countries are from Europe, from Africa, from Asia, using the same protocol, and from Latin America and elsewhere. And when it comes to vaccines, WHO's position is the same, using the same protocol in the whole world, the same protocol in all countries involved. And we don't tolerate any targeting of a continent or a country to do a trial or using it as a testing ground. We don't. So future trials, when clinical trials start on vaccines, we will make sure that protocols are used and applied the same way in all countries. Actually, the vaccines that are now in the front line will be moving into clinical trials soon, and we will take this seriously, and we will make sure that the same protocol and same guideline is applied.
Now let's take a look at the popular hashtags on Twitter today. Hashtag Tsegofatso Pule. The young woman murdered in another case of gender-based violence is being laid to rest today. The 28-year-old, who was 8 months pregnant, was found stabbed and hanged in a veld. Hashtag Bekicele. The police minister has voiced his concern over what he says is an increase in murder since the alcohol was lifted in level 3. But Tweeps believe police should be playing a tougher role in combating GBV. Hashtag Concord. The highest court in the land has caused consternation in political parties today after ruling that the Electoral Act is unconstitutional, as independent candidates cannot stand independently. It was argued that the act infringed on the right to exercise political choices. We'd like to know your views on burning issues during this pandemic, so we'll be posting burning questions on our Facebook page daily, Our City CT. You can also follow us on Twitter at Our City CT. That's it from me, Stephanie Pitt. Please stay with us. After the break, Michaela Miller will be giving you information on resources and places of safety you can access during this period. Stay with us.
Welcome back. You're still tuned into Our City, the COVID show on Cape Town TV, channel 263. Here's a recap of today's headlines. The National Health Laboratory Service is prioritizing COVID-19 testing in the Western Cape due to the province's high rate of infection. The South African Health Products Regulatory Authority has given the go-ahead for repurposing the tuberculosis drug BCG, and Transport Minister Fikile Mbalula is meeting with various taxi associations. If you are in need of any assistance, here are some organizations helping communities stay safe during this period. That's it from the Our City COVID-19 news show, but we will continue giving you the latest news on what's happening in Cape Town on our Facebook page at Our City CT and on Twitter at Our City CT. You can also get in touch with us via email at ourcity@capetowntv.org or call us on 021 448 0448. From me, Michaela Miller, and the Our City News crew, goodbye.